The night was cold and silent on the edge of the human colony. Only the wind moved, whispering across the broken metal plains. Far in the distance, a small light blinked under the remains of an old ship. Eli walked toward it, his boots crunching on the dust. He was not supposed to be out there. The patrol drones circled the area and the rules were clear. No one was allowed near alien crash sites. But Eli was not the kind of man who followed every rule. He was an engineer, a fixer of things others had thrown away. Machines, drones, broken tech, it didn't matter. If something could be repaired, Eli could bring it back to life. That night, however, he found something no tool could fix. Inside the wreck, he saw her. She was small, her skin faintly glowing silver under the light of the moons. Her long white hair was tangled around her face, and her eyes, large, bright, and scared, followed him. She tried to move, but her body didn't respond. From her waist down, she was still. Eli froze. An alien, a real one. Everyone in the colony had heard about them. Cold, dangerous, emotionless. Yet as she stared at him, he didn't see a threat. He saw fear, pain, and something else. Hope. "Can you understand me?" he asked quietly. Her lips trembled. "Help, please." The words were soft, broken, but human enough to pierce his heart. Eli didn't think. He pulled her out of the wreck, careful not to hurt her. Her legs hung lifeless and her skin felt cold like metal. He carried her through the dust, back to his small workshop hidden near the cliffs. The colony would never allow this. If they found out, he could be imprisoned or worse. But he couldn't leave her there to die. When morning came, Sci, he learned her name from the small translator chip on her neck, was lying on his repair table, staring at the ceiling. He brought her water and wrapped a blanket around her thin frame. She looked at the tools hanging above her and asked, "You build things?" "Yes," he said, cleaning his hands. "Machines, drones, small tech. I fix things that others think are useless," she smiled faintly. "Then maybe you can fix me." The words hit him hard. He tried to smile back, but it felt wrong. "I'll try." Over the next few days, Eli worked. He built her a hover chair from old mining drones, parts of scrap bikes, and pieces of broken bots. It wasn't perfect, but it moved smoothly and could travel long distances. When he showed it to her, Sari's eyes widened like a child's. "For me," she whispered. He nodded. "You can control it with your hands. It'll keep you safe." When she sat in it, her face lit up. For the first time, she looked free. Eli watched her move across the small workshop, turning carefully, smiling shyly. She looked fragile, yet there was something strong about her, something hidden deep inside. That night, as they sat outside watching the stars, Sari broke the silence. "Eli," she said softly, "have you ever seen the ocean?" He looked at her, surprised. "The ocean? It's far from here, too far. I've never seen it," she said. "My people, we come from a dry world. We were told water is dangerous for us, but I want to see it just once." Before I die, Eli didn't know what to say. The ocean was miles away, past the colony border, through checkpoints and under the eyes of soldiers. Taking her there would be suicide. Still, when he looked into her glowing eyes, he felt something stir in his chest. "I'll take you there," he said before he could stop himself. Sari blinked. "You would do that?" "For me," he nodded. "You deserve to see it." Her lips trembled as she whispered, "No one has ever said that to me before." Eli didn't sleep that night. He sat beside the window staring at the stars. Why did he promise that? He didn't even know who she really was. But deep inside he felt something, like the world had given him a mission, one that mattered more than his own safety. The next evening, he packed food, water, and extra batteries for her hover chair. Sari watched him quietly, her fingers tracing the edge of a broken metal plate. When he told her they were leaving, she looked both excited and scared. "Eli," she whispered. "The ocean, it calls to me. I can hear it sometimes, even from here." He frowned. "You can hear it?" She nodded. "In dreams, it sings. But when I wake up, I forget the song." He didn't understand what she meant, but he didn't ask. He didn't want to break the fragile peace between them. That night they left. The desert was silent except for the soft hum of her hover chair. The moons lit their way as they moved between ruined highways and dead trees. Eli kept checking the scanner. No drones nearby for now. Sari looked up at the sky, her silver eyes reflecting the stars. "You humans are brave," she said suddenly. "Not always." Eli replied. Sometimes we just do what feels right, she smiled faintly. Then maybe that's what bravery is. Hours passed. As they moved deeper into the wasteland, the air grew cold and a thin mist began to form. Sari shivered. Eli offered her his jacket and she took it with trembling hands. Her touch was warm now, not cold like before. Eli, she whispered as the wind picked up, if we reach the ocean, and I touch it, promise me you won't be afraid, he frowned. Why would I be afraid? She looked away, her voice barely a breath. Because the water remembers. Eli didn't understand, but something in her tone sent a chill down his spine. As they disappeared into the mist, the faint sound of a drone echoed behind them. A red light blinked once, then vanished into the night. Someone, or something, was watching, and the real journey had only just begun. The night wind carried the sound of rusted metal and distant thunder. Eli and Sari moved quietly through the wasteland, their path lit only by the dim blue light from her hover chair. The machine floated a few inches above the ground, humming softly like a heartbeat. They had been traveling for 2 days now, sleeping under broken towers, hiding whenever the colony patrol drones flew overhead. Eli's legs ached, but he didn't complain. Every time he looked at Sari's face, calm and quiet under the moonlight, he felt his strength return. But something about her had changed. She was speaking less, staring more, especially at the horizon. Once Eli caught her whispering words in a strange language he couldn't understand. The air around her had shimmered faintly for a second, as if reality itself had rippled. When he asked her about it, she only smiled weakly and said, "Old words. They help me feel safe." Still, Eli couldn't shake the feeling that something about Sari wasn't what it seemed. The wasteland slowly began to change. The dry sand turned to cracked stone and the air smelled faintly of salt. The ocean wasn't far now, maybe 2 or 3 nights more. But getting there wouldn't be easy. Between them and the coast was a human checkpoint, built to keep aliens out and smugglers in. They stopped to rest near an abandoned water tower. Sari's hover chair powered down with a soft sigh. She looked pale. "Are you okay?" Eli asked, offering her water. She shook her head. "It's the air. It feels heavier here. Like it remembers something," Eli frowned. "Air can't remember anything." She looked at him with tired eyes. "Everything remembers, Eli. Even the ground beneath your feet." He didn't know what she meant, but her words sent a strange unease through him. That night, when she fell asleep, Eli stayed awake by the small campfire. He kept thinking about what she said, how she could hear the ocean in her dreams. Maybe she was imagining things, or maybe her people had a connection to this world that humans didn't understand. A sudden noise broke his thoughts. A faint clicking sound echoed through the air, followed by a flash of light in the distance. Eli quickly turned off the fire and crouched beside Sari. The hover chair lights dimmed automatically. He watched through the darkness as a patrol drone swept past, its red eye glowing like fire. Eli held his breath. The drone paused for a moment, then moved on. But before it disappeared, he noticed something strange. It wasn't just scanning the area. It was following a signal. He looked at Sari. The translator chip on her neck flickered faintly. "Your chip," he whispered. "It's giving off a signal." Sari woke up slowly, blinking. When she saw his expression, her face went pale. "I didn't think it would still work," she said softly. "It was supposed to be shut down." "Supposed to?" Eli hissed. "You mean someone could be tracking you?" Her voice trembled. "Maybe not. Or maybe yes. My people, they don't want me here." Eli stared at her. "Why not?" She turned away, her silver hair falling over her face. "Because I broke a rule." "What rule?" "The rule that says my kind must never touch this planet again." Her words hung in the cold air like ice. Eli didn't understand, but there was no time to ask. The drone was circling back. He quickly grabbed his tools, ripped out the chip, and crushed it under his boot. "Now no one can track you," he said. But Sari didn't look relieved. She looked scared. "You don't understand," she whispered. "If they can't find me through the chip, they'll use something stronger." "What do you mean?" Her voice grew quiet. "They can follow my dreams." The next day the storm came. It rose without warning, black clouds spinning over the wasteland, lightning tearing the sky apart. The wind howled like an animal. Eli and Sari took shelter inside a half-collapsed tunnel. Water poured in from cracks above, splashing against her hover chair. "Stay still," Eli shouted over the thunder. "I'll block the opening." But before he could move, lightning struck nearby, lighting up the tunnel in white fire. For a single moment, Eli saw something impossible. Sari's legs twitched. He froze, staring at her. "Sari, did you feel that?" She looked down, confused and afraid. "No, I don't know." But Eli had seen it clearly. The muscles had moved. The paralysis, was it real? Or had she been hiding it all this time? He didn't ask again. The fear in her eyes told him enough. When the storm finally passed, silence fell over the land. The ocean was close now. They could smell the salt in the wind. Sari seemed weaker, her voice soft as a whisper. "Eli," she said, "promise me something." "What?" "If we reach the ocean, and I can't go any further, don't turn back. Just leave me there." He shook his head. "I'm not leaving you." Her gaze was distant, her silver eyes glowing faintly. "You might have to." He wanted to argue, but before he could, the sound of engines echoed across the plain. He looked up and saw them. 3 flying crafts, black and sharp, gliding across the sky like shadows, alien patrol. Sari's people had found her. Eli grabbed the hover chair and pushed it toward the ridge. The machines in the sky turned, their lights sweeping the ground. One of them spotted movement and let out a piercing alarm. "Eli!" Sari cried. "They'll catch you!" "Then hold on tight," he shouted. The chair's engines roared as they sped into the canyon, sand whipping around them. Behind them, the patrols gave chase, beams of red light flashing through the stormy haze. Eli didn't know if they would survive the night, but he knew one thing: he was not going to stop. Not until Sari saw the ocean with her own eyes, and as they disappeared into the darkness far above, one of the alien crafts sent a message into space. Subject Sari located. Possible contamination with human. The message blinked twice before vanishing into the void. The hunt had truly begun. The storm had ended, but the world it left behind was no longer the same. The ground was soaked, the air heavy with salt, and the gray clouds hung low like bruises across the sky. Eli and Sari took shelter under a half-broken bridge, their clothes still wet, their faces covered with dust and exhaustion. The hover chair hummed weakly, its power cells almost drained. Eli sat near her, staring at the endless horizon. Somewhere beyond that stretch of land waited the ocean, their goal, their hope, and maybe their doom. But Sari hadn't spoken a word since the lightning struck. She just sat quietly, her eyes fixed on her still legs as if they were strangers to her own body. Eli finally broke the silence. "You should rest," he said softly. Her voice was faint. "I can't, the dreams won't stop." He looked at her, confused. "Dreams?" Sari nodded slowly. "They come stronger after the storms. I hear voices calling me from the water. They know my name, Eli, they remember me." Her words sent a cold feeling through him. "You mean your people?" She shook her head. "No, older voices. From before there were people at all." Eli wanted to believe she was just scared, maybe hallucinating, but deep down he knew there was something about her, something that reached beyond reason. By morning the sun pushed through the fog, lighting the ruined land in pale gold. The storm had revealed a new path, an old railway leading straight toward the coast. Eli repaired the hover chair as best he could, tightening the bolts and replacing a broken propeller. As he worked, he noticed something strange. The sand beneath the chair had tiny marks like small footprints. He brushed them away quickly, pretending he hadn't seen them. When Sari woke, she looked stronger. Her silver hair shimmered under the sun and her eyes glowed faintly blue. "We're close," she said. "I can feel it," Eli smiled tiredly. "That's good, but we'll need to pass a checkpoint first. I'm not sure we can sneak through." "You don't have to sneak," she said softly. "I can help." He raised an eyebrow. "How?" She hesitated, then held out her hand. The air around her fingers flickered with faint energy, blue like the color of deep water. Eli stepped back. What are you doing?" She withdrew her hand quickly. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to scare you. It's a part of me, something my people call the tide." "The tide?" he repeated. "It's the memory of water," she said quietly. "We carry a piece of it inside us. That's why I wasn't allowed to come here. The water of this planet is alive. It can call us back." Eli frowned, not understanding. Call you back from where? From who we became, she whispered. We were born from the ocean long ago, but when we left it, it cursed us. My legs stopped working because I defied that curse. I was never meant to walk again, not until I saw the sea. Her voice trembled with something between fear and hope. Eli stared at her, trying to take it all in. You mean, the ocean is part of you? She nodded. Part of all of us. He looked at the horizon again. The faint smell of salt was stronger now. Maybe she wasn't lying. Maybe she wasn't even fully alien. But before he could speak, a low buzzing sound filled the air. He looked up and saw 3 dark figures in the distance. Hover drones. Human ones this time. They were scanning the area for unauthorized movement. If they found an alien, they wouldn't ask questions. They'd shoot first. Eli grabbed the hover chair and pulled it behind a collapsed wall. Stay low, he whispered. Sari obeyed, lowering the chair's lights until they were in complete darkness. The drones passed slowly overhead. One of them paused, turning its red eye toward the bridge. Eli's heart pounded. He pulled Sari close, covering her with his jacket, as the beam of light swept across the ground. Then, suddenly, a strange hum filled the air. Sari's body glowed faintly. The sand beneath them rippled like water, spreading in waves. The light from the drone flickered, then shut off. The other drones began to spark and crash, their engines whining as if something had taken control of them. Eli looked at her in shock. What did you just do? Her voice was calm, but her eyes were full of sorrow. I called the silence. The silence! It's what the ocean gave me. The power to quiet machines, to quiet everything, but it costs energy. I can't use it for long. Eli stared at her. You saved us. She shook her head. No, I warned them. They'll send more. He wanted to argue, but she was right. The drones weren't the real threat. Someone would come looking for the broken signal soon. They had to move. Now. The path ahead grew steeper as they followed the railway toward the cliffs. The closer they got, the stranger the world became. The air shimmered faintly. The ground hummed beneath their feet. Sari's glow brightened. She smiled weakly. It's close. The ocean. It's waiting. Eli could finally hear it too. The faint sound of waves crashing against rocks. Carried by the wind, they were almost there. But as they reached the final ridge, a flash of red light appeared in the distance. Human patrol vehicles, 5 of them, rolling fast across the plain. Eli's stomach tightened. They found us. Sari turned to him, her voice steady. Then we run. He lifted her out of the hover chair, carrying her in his arms. She felt lighter than ever, as if the wind itself was helping him. Behind them, the sirens grew louder. The sky darkened again, clouds forming in strange shapes. Lightning flashed once more, but this time it didn't strike the ground. It struck her. For a heartbeat, the world froze. Blue energy spread from Sari's body, flowing through her legs. She gasped, eyes wide, as her toes twitched. Eli, she whispered, her voice shaking. I can feel them. He stared at her in disbelief. Your legs? She nodded, tears in her glowing eyes. The ocean, it's waking me. And for the first time since he found her, Eli felt both hope and fear, because whatever was waking inside her wasn't just her, it was something ancient, something the world had forgotten, and it was coming with the tide. The sound came first, low, heavy, and growing louder every second. Engines. Eli turned his head toward the horizon and saw them. 5 armored patrol vehicles cutting through the wasteland like hungry beasts. Dust and smoke trailed behind their wheels. Their red sensors glowed like eyes in the twilight. They had found them. Sari sat in the hover chair, still pale from the lightning strike. Her eyes glowed faintly blue, her breathing quick and uneven. The strange energy that had flowed through her was fading, but her legs still trembled with life. Eli, she whispered, they're coming for me. I know, he said, gripping the controls of the chair. Hold tight. The hover chair's engine hummed weakly, its power core nearly drained, but there was no time to rest or recharge. He turned it toward the old railway path and pushed it to full speed. The machine jolted, then glided forward, hovering low over the cracked ground. Behind them, the patrols began to fire. Blue streaks of plasma flashed past, burning holes into the stone. One shot hit the side of the chair and sparks flew. Sari gasped, clutching the edges. Eli, stop. You'll be killed. He gritted his teeth. Not today. The railway led into a narrow canyon. The air was thick with dust, the walls glowing faintly from the storm's leftover energy. The vehicles were too large to follow directly, but Eli knew it was only a matter of time before they sent drones in. As they entered the canyon, Sari leaned close, whispering something in her language, a soft rhythm, like waves breaking against the shore. The air around them shimmered. "What are you doing?" Eli asked. "Calling for cover," she said quietly. The canyon walls began to vibrate. Sand and rock loosened from the cliffs above, falling behind them in heavy waves. The path closed, blocking the patrols from entering. Eli looked back in disbelief. "Did you just cause that?" She nodded faintly. "The earth listens to the water in me." He wanted to ask more, but a sudden hum cut through the air. A familiar one. Drones. 3 of them dropped from the sky, hovering just above the canyon. Their red eyes locked onto the fleeing pair. Eli steered hard to the left, pushing the chair through an old tunnel. The air inside was damp and cold. He could smell the sea now, strong and near. Sari's eyes brightened. "The ocean," she said. "We're close." But the drones followed, their lights cutting through the dark. Eli reached into his bag and pulled out a small EMP device, a tool he had built months ago from scrap parts. It wasn't meant for battle, but it might give them a chance. "Cover your ears," he said. He pressed the trigger. A high-pitched pulse filled the air. The drones crackled, sparks flying as they fell one by one. The tunnel went dark except for the soft blue light coming from Sari's skin. For a moment, everything was silent. Then the tunnel began to shake. "What now?" Eli muttered. Sari's eyes widened. "They're not alone." A deep rumble echoed from behind them. A larger machine, one of the patrol vehicles, had forced its way through the canyon. Its metal treads ground against the rocks as it squeezed into the tunnel. Eli sped up. The hover chair shook, its power meter flashing red. They reached the tunnel's end, bursting into the open air. Before them stretched the coastline. The sun had begun to rise, painting the waves in gold and silver. The ocean spread endlessly before them, vast, alive, and ancient. Sari gasped. Her eyes filled with tears. "It's real," she whispered. "It's really real." Eli slowed for just a second, staring at the waves crashing against the shore. He'd never seen anything so beautiful, or so dangerous. Then the machine behind them roared out of the tunnel, its cannons locking onto them. Sari turned her face toward the sea. "I can stop them," she said quietly. Eli's heart raced. "No, you'll get yourself killed." She smiled weakly. "Maybe. But I was dying before you found me, Eli. At least now I'll die seeing the ocean." Before he could stop her, she placed her hands on the ground. Blue energy spread out from her fingertips, racing through the sand toward the waves. The sea answered. The waves grew higher, their roar deepening, the air around them filled with electricity. The water glowed faintly blue like it was alive. Eli stared in awe. "Sari, what are you doing?" She didn't look at him. "Remember what I told you? The ocean remembers. It remembers everything it creates." The patrol vehicle fired. A beam of plasma shot through the air, but it never reached them. A massive wave rose up from the sea and crashed into the shore, slamming into the machine with incredible force. Metal twisted. Fire burst. The patrol was gone. Sari's body shook. Her glow dimmed. Eli rushed to her side. "Sari! Hey, stay with me!" She looked up at him weakly. "It's too much. I called the water too soon. It wasn't ready." He held her hand tightly. "You did it. You saved us." She smiled faintly. "You always say that." Then she looked toward the ocean again, her silver eyes reflecting the light of the morning sun. "The water knows me now," she whispered. "It knows I've come home." Eli didn't understand what she meant, but something deep inside him felt it too. The waves seemed to hum softly as if whispering her name. He lifted her out of the hover chair and carried her to the edge of the water. She reached out and let the foam touch her fingers. For a moment her body trembled, then went completely still. Her eyes opened wider, glowing brighter than before. "Eli, it doesn't hurt anymore." He stared at her legs. She was moving them. Slowly, weakly, but moving. "Sari," he whispered. "You're walking." She looked at him with tears in her eyes. "Not yet," she said softly. "But soon." Behind them, the smoke from the destroyed patrol rose into the dawn sky. More ships would come. The chase wasn't over. But for that brief, perfect moment, Sari stood at the edge of the sea, half human, half alien. All miracle, while the waves whispered her name and the world seemed to hold its breath. And Eli realized something he had never understood before. The ocean wasn't just water. It was alive, and it had chosen her. The ocean stretched endlessly before them, an endless mirror of light and movement. For the first time in her life, Sari saw it with her own eyes. She sat on the sand, silent, staring at the horizon where the sun touched the water. The air was heavy with salt and mystery. The waves whispered like voices trying to speak, but their words were lost in the wind. Eli stood beside her, his clothes torn, his face covered in soot and worry. The storm had passed, but trouble hadn't. The patrol they destroyed would not be the last. More would come, human and alien both. But for now they had a moment of peace. "You should rest," Eli said softly. Sari didn't answer. She reached out a trembling hand and let her fingers sink into the wet sand. The grains clung to her skin, glowing faintly under her touch. "It's warm," she whispered. "It's alive." Eli sat beside her. "You've seen it now," he said. "The ocean? We made it." Her silver eyes turned toward him. "No," she said gently. "We haven't, not yet." He frowned. "What do you mean?" "The sea isn't just something to see," she said. "It's something to remember." Hours passed. The wind grew softer, the sky bluer. Sari didn't move from her spot. Eli built a small shelter using the broken panels from the hover chair. He watched her quietly, feeling something he couldn't explain, like he was standing next to something holy. When he returned with a small ration pack, she finally spoke again. "Do you know why my people fear water, Eli?" He shook his head. "They said it burns you, right?" She smiled sadly. "That's what they tell us. But it isn't true. Water doesn't burn us. It remembers us." He frowned. "Remembers?" She nodded. "Long ago my kind were born from it. Not from another world, but from this one. The sea made us when the first lightning touched it. We were meant to live beside it, not away from it. But we left, and it cursed us with forgetfulness." Eli stared at her, trying to make sense of it. "You mean, your people came from here?" "Yes," she said softly. "This planet is our home too. We just forgot it. We built cities in the stars and called ourselves aliens. But the ocean never forgot. It waited for us to return." Her words struck him like thunder. "So you weren't really an invader?" She looked down. "No, I was coming home." The tide began to rise, waves creeping closer with each passing hour. The water shimmered faintly blue wherever it touched her. Eli noticed it first. "Sorry, your legs." She looked down and gasped. The glow was spreading from the water into her skin. Her muscles twitched. Her feet pressed into the sand. "I can feel it," she whispered. "The sea, it's giving me back what I lost." Eli smiled with disbelief. "You can stand?" She looked at him, her face glowing with tears and wonder. Slowly, shakily, she rose to her feet. The water clung to her like silk swirling around her ankles. For a few seconds she stood upright, fragile but real. "I'm walking," she said, her voice breaking. "After all this time, I'm walking." Eli felt his heart swell. "You did it, Sari. You—" But then he stopped. The ocean waves had begun to change color, from blue to white, from white to a deep silver light that pulsed like a heartbeat. The ground beneath them trembled softly. Sari's eyes widened. "It's awake." "What's awake?" Eli asked, stepping back. "The ocean," she said. "It feels my blood again." She stepped forward, deeper into the water. The glow around her grew brighter. Her reflection in the waves wasn't her anymore. It was something larger, ancient, and powerful. "Sari, wait!" Eli shouted. "You don't know what's happening?" She turned to him with a strange calmness. "I do. I was made for this." Lightning flashed far out at sea, though the sky above them was clear. A sound echoed across the coast, deep and slow like the breath of the planet itself. The waves rose higher. Patterns formed in the foam, circles, lines, symbols older than language. Eli ran into the water, grabbing her hand. "You're scaring me. Let's go back." She looked at him, tears shining like silver. "You don't understand, Eli. The ocean is calling its children home." Before he could pull her away, the water surged upward, wrapping around her like arms. She gasped, her body glowing brighter than ever. The ocean didn't drag her down, it lifted her. For a heartbeat, she floated in the air, surrounded by water shaped like wings. Her voice echoed through the waves, not as words, but as music. Eli fell to his knees, staring in awe and fear. "Sorry!" Her voice reached him through the sound of the waves. Don't be afraid, Eli, it knows you too. He looked down, realizing the water around him was glowing as well, softly, gently. The sea was touching him, searching, learning. He backed away, trembling. What are you talking about? The ocean doesn't see humans or aliens, she said. It only sees life. It remembers every drop that ever lived. It remembers you. The light grew brighter until Eli had to shield his eyes. Then just as suddenly it faded. Sari stood again on the shore, wet but calm. Her eyes were different now, deep blue like the sea itself. What happened? Eli whispered. She looked at him with a faint smile. It accepted me. But it also warned me. Warned you? She nodded. Something is coming. The others, both human and alien, are on their way. And when they arrive, they'll see this place. And they'll fear it. Eli clenched his fists. Then we'll run again, she shook her head. No, we can't. This place is the edge of the world, Eli. There's nowhere left to run. The sky above them darkened. Shapes appeared in the distance, ships black and metallic moving fast toward the coast. Eli grabbed her hand. Then we fight. Sari's expression was calm but sad. No, Eli, we remember. As the waves began to rise once more, glowing brighter than before, Eli realized what she meant. This wasn't a battle they could win with weapons. It was a truth they had to reveal, and whatever the ocean was awakening, it wasn't done yet. The wind howled over the coast as the first shadow crossed the sky. Huge ships, human and alien both, appeared on the horizon, hovering above the glowing water. Their lights flashed red and white, reflections trembling on the ocean's surface. The world seemed to hold its breath. Sari stood barefoot at the edge of the sea. The water around her shimmered faintly blue, swirling around her ankles as if it obeyed her. Her eyes, once silver, now glowed the same deep color as the ocean. Eli stood behind her, clutching his pack of tools. He had no plan, no weapon, nothing that could fight what was coming. But he refused to leave her. They found us, he said quietly. I know, she answered, her voice calm, almost peaceful. They were always meant to. Eli looked at her, confused. Meant to? Sorry, they'll kill you. She turned to him, her hair flowing in the wind. No, they'll see. The sky darkened as the ships drew closer. Loudspeakers crackled, human voices echoing through static. This is Commander Hale of the Earth Defense Colony, a voice boomed. Step away from the alien immediately. You are under arrest for harboring an enemy of the Union. Eli raised his hands instinctively, but Sari didn't move. She just smiled faintly as if hearing an old song. Do you hear them, Eli? She asked. Hear what? The fear. Above them, the alien ships joined the standoff, sleek and dark, their own weapons ready. Another voice cut through the air, deeper and slower. This is Captain Vareth of the Arakai fleet. Return our subject or face elimination. The humans shouted back. The aliens responded, and the air between the two fleets shimmered with tension. Eli stepped beside Sari, his voice shaking. If they start fighting, everyone dies. We have to stop this. She looked at him with sad eyes. That's why I'm here. Without another word, she stepped deeper into the water. The glow spread farther, stretching in lines across the sea, forming patterns like living veins pulsing with light. The human ships began to scan the area. The ocean's readings were off the charts, energy, movement, unknown frequencies. The commanders barked orders, their voices breaking through the comms. Target the source. Target the water! But it was already too late. The sea began to rise, not in waves, but in shapes. Columns of glowing water twisted upward like arms reaching toward the sky. The ship swayed, alarms blaring. Eli shouted, Sari! What's happening? She didn't answer. She was speaking again in her strange language, words that hummed through the air like a song carried by the wind. The light grew stronger. The waves formed faces, human and alien, thousands of them made from water and light. They spoke as one, their voices low and deep, echoing across the shore. We remember. Eli dropped to his knees, staring in awe. The ocean was speaking. Sari turned back to him. Do you see now? We are both born from the same breath, the same water. The first life didn't care about worlds or borders. Her words were soft, but they carried through the roaring sea. Eli's heart pounded. Then why the war? Why the fear? Because we forgot, she said simply. Both our kinds did. The ships above hesitated. The commanders, both human and alien, watched as the energy from the ocean rose higher. They didn't understand what they were seeing. But they felt it, a memory older than any of them. In the glow, Eli saw flashes, visions. He saw the birth of the first oceans, the rise of creatures that could breathe both air and water. He saw beings of light walking from the tides, their skin glimmering like silver, ancestors of Sari's people. And then he saw humans too, descendants of the same source, split by time, not by origin. The ocean had made them both. It was the same mother. Sari lifted her arms. The water followed. "This is the truth," she said. "The sea is not just water, it's memory. Every drop remembers where it came from." The waves surged higher, touching the lowest hulls of the human ships. Systems began to fail. Radars, weapons, lights. But it wasn't destruction. It was silence. The ocean wasn't attacking. It was listening. Eli ran forward, standing beside Sari in the shallow water. "What do we do?" Her face softened. "We show them. We remind them who they are." From the glowing sea, shapes began to emerge, figures of pure light like ghosts made of water. They stood between the fleets, their presence powerful yet gentle. The ocean had taken form to stop the war. Each side hesitated. The human commander lowered his weapon. "What is this?" Sari spoke again, her voice amplified by the waves. "You both came from here. You left, built walls, forgot your mother. But she did not forget you." The alien captain's voice trembled. "Impossible. Our history begins on Arakai." Sari shook her head. "No, it began here. Arakai was the name of your first ship, the one that carried you away from this sea." The ocean pulsed brighter, confirming her words. Silence fell across the fleets. For the first time in centuries, human and alien soldiers stared not at each other, but at the same truth. Eli looked at Sari. Her face was pale, her body trembling. The energy around her was fading. "You're using too much," he said urgently. "Stop, you'll die." She smiled weakly. "If I stop now, they'll forget again. Let me finish." The water rose one last time, lifting her above the waves. Her voice echoed through every ship, every mind, every heart. "You are one people, born from one sea. Remember this, or drown in your own wars." Then the light exploded. The waves crashed outward in a perfect ring, spreading miles across the coast. When it cleared, Sari was gone. Only calm water remained, quiet, peaceful, alive. Eli fell to his knees in the wet sand, tears mixing with salt water. "Sari." A soft wave rolled up to his feet, carrying something small, a glowing shell still warm. He picked it up, holding it close. The light inside pulsed once, like a heartbeat. Then a voice, soft, familiar, echoing inside his mind, whispered, "The ocean remembers. So must you." Far above, the fleets began to retreat, human and alien both. They no longer aimed their weapons. The war had paused. Not ended, not yet, but paused by truth. Eli stood alone on the beach, staring at the endless horizon. The world was different now. The ocean was quiet again, but he knew it wasn't asleep. It was waiting for them all to remember what she had died to show. The morning after the great wave, the world was quiet. Too quiet. The sea was calm, almost still. The sky hung heavy with silver light, and the sand shimmered faintly under Eli's feet. He stood at the edge of the water, holding the glowing shell close to his heart. It pulsed every few seconds, like it was breathing. She was gone. Sari, his strange, brave companion, the alien girl who had wanted nothing more than to see the ocean, had vanished into it. The fleets had left, shaken and silent. The war had stopped for now. But peace felt like an echo, not a victory. Eli whispered into the wind, "Where are you?" The ocean didn't answer. Only the waves moved, gentle and patient, as if waiting for him to understand. Days passed. Eli built a small camp near the coast, refusing to leave. He fixed what little he had left from the hover chair, made a signal beacon, and waited. Each night he dreamed of her, standing in the waves, her eyes glowing blue, calling his name through the mist. Every time he woke, the ocean was closer, as if it had crept toward him while he slept. On the 7th night, he woke to a strange sound, like a heartbeat under the water. The sea glowed faintly, the same silver-blue light he had seen before. He stood up and walked toward it, the wet sand cold beneath his feet. When he reached the edge, the waves pulled back, and something rose from the deep. It wasn't a person. It wasn't even a creature. It was light. A vast, shimmering shape took form above the sea. A face, a presence too large to be real, yet gentle like the tide. Eli fell to his knees, unable to speak. Then he heard her voice. Not from the air, but from inside the water, inside his chest, Eli. His breath caught. Sorry, yes. Her voice was soft, flowing like music. But I'm not just sorry now. He stared into the glowing waves. What happened to you? The ocean woke me, she said. It showed me what I am, what we are. I was born from its memory, and now I've become part of it. Eli shook his head, tears burning in his eyes. You can't stay there. You're alive. You have to come back. A pause, gentle and sad. I can't, my body's gone. But my mind, my soul, they live here now. The ocean keeps what it loves. He pressed his hand into the water, desperate. Then take me too. The waves rippled, glowing brighter around his fingers. For a moment he thought it would happen, that she would pull him in, that they would be together again. But the sea grew calm, holding him there without pulling or pushing. You still have work to do, she said softly. What work? He whispered. To remind them, she replied. Humans, aliens. Both forgot the truth the ocean showed them. They will start to fear again. You must be the voice that remembers. He looked out at the endless water. I'm just one man. They won't listen to me. Her voice grew warmer. They will. Because you carried me. Because you cared. The ocean chose you, Eli. He felt a rush of emotion, grief, love, awe. The sea shimmered like liquid glass, and for a moment he saw her reflection in it. Sorry, standing barefoot on the shore, smiling the same quiet smile she had given him that night in the desert. Will I ever see you again? He asked. The reflection tilted its head. The ocean remembers everything. When your time comes, it will remember you too. Then her image faded and the water went still. Eli sat on the shore until dawn. The shell in his hand had stopped glowing, but it still felt warm. He hung it around his neck with a piece of wire. When the sun rose, he saw something new, lights on the horizon. Ships. Not warships this time, but small vessels carrying people from both sides, humans and aliens, coming together. They had heard about what happened here. They wanted to see it. To understand. Eli stayed as they arrived, watching as both groups stepped onto the sand. They didn't speak at first, just stared at the calm, glowing water. The air was filled with an uneasy peace. Then one of them, a young human woman, asked softly, Is it true? Did the ocean speak? Eli nodded. It did, and it told us something simple. What was it? He looked down at the water, remembering Sari's voice, that we were never different. We just forgot where we came from. An alien soldier stepped forward, his eyes uncertain. And the girl? The one they called Sari? Eli smiled faintly. She's here everywhere. The soldier looked at the sea, and for a moment even he seemed to feel it. The pulse beneath the waves. Slow and steady like the heartbeat of something alive. That night, when everyone had left, Eli remained alone again on the shore. He built a small monument from driftwood and metal scraps. At its center, he placed the broken parts of Sari's hover chair, now rusted and silent. He carved simple words into a piece of stone. For Sari, the one who remembered. As the tide came in, it touched the monument gently, never washing it away. It shimmered faintly in the moonlight as if the ocean approved. Eli sat beside it, listening to the sound of the waves. It no longer sounded lonely. The sea now whispered softly, almost like a lullaby. He closed his eyes, and for a brief second, he heard her voice again, clear, warm, alive. You carried me to the ocean, Eli. Now carry the ocean to them. He smiled through his tears. I will. Years passed. The coast became a sacred place, a line where no one fought, where humans and aliens came to honor the sea. They built no walls there, no guns, no machines, only silence and understanding. Some said they could still see a glowing figure walking on the water at night, her footsteps leaving trails of light. Others claimed the waves sometimes whispered a human name. Eli grew old near that same beach, never leaving it. Every morning he touched the sea and whispered the same words. I remember. And when his last breath came, the tide rose quietly, carrying him into the waves. The ocean glowed brighter for a moment, as if greeting an old friend. Far out in the shimmering deep, two lights met, one silver, one blue, and drifted together beneath the endless sea. The ocean had kept its promise. It remembered, and now so did the stars.